with the request to address urgently the humanitarian issues. When it comes to the first part of the question, my impression is that Russia is not in a position at this point to establish a ceasefire. They seek a surrender from Ukraine, but this is not what they are going to get. Ukraine is strong, Ukraine is fighting, Ukraine made Russian initial plans fail. We are ready to seek balanced diplomatic solutions to put an end to this war, but we will not surrender.
Mr. Kuleba, Tom Bateman of the BBC, thank you very much for doing this. Can I ask you first about the issue of a 24-hour ceasefire? You said there that Mr. Lavrov was not in a position or was not the decision maker, but that he would go and ask the question. Do you have any confidence there can now be a 24-hour ceasefire? And can I ask you about the wider issues? Because we know that Mr. Peskov, for example, was saying that the fighting, the invasion will stop if there is a commitment by Ukraine not to join NATO, to recognize the regions in the east as independent. Was there any discussion? Did the Russians ask you about these wider issues? And are you prepared to make any concessions on those?
No, Minister Lavrov said that all of these issues should be discussed on a different track, the so-called Belarus talks. And he did not go into details on this issue, but the broad narrative that he conveyed to me is that they will continue their aggression until Ukraine meets their demands. And the list of those demands is a surrender, and this is why it's not why it is not acceptable to us. The last thing I want today is to kill hope in the civilians who suffer from Russian air raids, bombardments, and the behavior of and the killings committed by Russian army on the ground. I shared with Minister Lavrov one episode in the hope that he would respond to it constructively, based on simple human values and respect for human life, about the murder of a civilian who was driving in a car. He made a wrong turn and was immediately shot by the Russian soldiers firing from a gun machine. These things must be stopped. These are the war crimes, and everyone involved in them will bear responsibility eventually. I sincerely hope that Minister Lavrov will follow up today's conversations with his colleagues in the Russian government, in the Russian army, and they will hear the plea of civilians, thousands of civilians, on whose behalf I spoke with him today, and help arrange a safe passage for them from the besieged cities, first and foremost from Mariupol, as well as to provide, to allow the provision of humanitarian aid to Mariupol.
Next question goes to Reuters, please.
Mr. Minister, thank you. Ukraine's leadership has talked about pursuing some non-NATO models to resolve the conflict if it receives certain security guarantees. During your meeting with Foreign Minister Lavrov, did any issues about Ukraine's status come up? And secondly, did Minister Lavrov set out any red lines, such as insisting Ukraine disarms or recognizes Russian sovereignty in the Donbass region during your talks? And what did you respond to this? Thank you very much.
He mentioned it very briefly without going into discussion again. He insists that these issues should be discussed between two delegations in what is called the Belarus talks. I said openly to him that, in my view, foreign ministers are invested with the powers to discuss any kind of issues and to seek all necessary solutions. However, it seems that he has a different impression about the role of a foreign minister in this crisis. So we did not engage into a specific discussion on this matter.
Next is Ukrinform.
Ольга Будник, Укрінформ. Пане міністре, гендиректор МАГАТЕ має намір приїхати на Анталійський форум. Чи матимете ви з ним зустріч? І взагалі на зустрічі з Лавровим, чи йшла мова про безпеку ядерних об'єктів? І чи продовжує Росія погрожувати своєю ядерною кнопкою?
Так, наприкінці зустрічі міністр Лавров порушив тему ядерної безпеки. Він хоче провести, він висловився на користь проведення тристоронніх консультацій між експертами МАГАТЕ, українськими та російськими ядерниками. Я відповів йому, що до приходу російських солдат на територію України все було в порядку з нашими ядерними об'єктами, з нашими атомними електростанціями. Вони функціонували надійно, і Україна взагалі завжди була і є відповідальним учасником всіх механізмів верифікації МАГАТЕ та договору про нерозповсюдження ядерної зброї. Вся ця брехня, яку вони розповсюджують про те, що вони знайшли в Україні якісь там сліди розробки ядерної зброї, це просто брехня. Жоден міжнародний орган, жодна міжнародна інспекція нічого подібного ніколи не бачила, тому що нічого такого в Україні не відбувалося. Тому найкраще, що може зробити зараз Росія, це вивести своїх солдатів з території Чорнобиля, з території Запорізької атомної електростанції, дозволити персоналу їх обслуговувати відповідним чином, а експертам МАГАТЕ відвідати їх та контролювати, щоб все було нормально. Будь-які посягання на суверенну владу України на її території, яка стосується ядерних об'єктів, є неприпустимими. І якщо будь-яка модель, якщо хтось буде нам нав'язувати модель, за якою ми маємо визнати якесь тимчасове управління в тій чи іншій формі росіянами нашими ядерними об'єктами, то ми це відкинемо, тому що це так не працює. Коротко кажучи, Росія має демілітаризувати ядерні об'єкти, які вона зараз намагається контролювати, і відмовитися від будь-яких атак і спроб захоплення інших ядерних об'єктів або об'єктів газової інфраструктури, до речі, те ж саме, тому що вони можуть поставити під сумнів функціонування ГТС, захоплюючи окремі її вузли. Ми відкриті до розмови з МАГАТЕ, але на тих принципах, які я позначив.
The next question goes to France 24.
Hi, Ludovic de Foucault, France 24. Thank you very much for doing this. Again, on the humanitarian level, because I understand this was really the focus of the meeting on your part, what concrete steps do you expect Russia to take in the next few days? What was your concrete demands, and what do you expect? Do you think that Mr. Lavrov was able to commit himself to take concrete steps in order to ease the humanitarian situation? Thank you.
In the meeting, I made a very simple proposal. I said, we all have our smartphones with us. Well, probably Minister Lavrov has his last iPhone, but that's another story. And I said, I can call my officials right away, my president, my prime minister, my commander-in-chief, and I give you 100% that they will provide all assurances that humanitarian corridors will work. I'm ready to do it right now, right here, in your presence. Can you do the same? Can you make the call? I'm sure you have all of them in the phone book. He did not respond to that. But I still hope that out of humanitarian considerations, he will follow up our conversation by reaching out to his colleagues in charge who can make decisions in this field. Again, we came to these meetings with different assumptions. I came as a foreign minister who is entrusted